I'm Father Pullman.
And I'm Father Schumacher. And
we are the Associates. Welcome back to another episode. This week's question. My son has been dating a Calvinist for 4 years now that believes Catholics are pagans. Because of their huge differences in faith beliefs, they avoid the elephant in the room and continue on in the relationship. Can you please address the question or topic of Catholics marrying non-Catholics? Explain to that young person in love the perils of doing so.
Sure. So I'd like to start actually with something that may not seem to be the best place to start on this, but we'll get there. So just hold with me for a moment. Here's a question, actually. Can Catholics marry non-Catholics? In fact, the answer is yes, but there's a proviso to that. Catholics are bound to marry Catholics, and the reason for this is because the faith is very important. It's the foundational thing of importance in our life here on earth because it's the thing that gets us to heaven. So, is it even possible for a Catholic to marry a non-Catholic? Yes, but the Church, through the bishop, has to grant a dispensation to Catholics who seek to marry non-Catholics. This is routinely granted in the modern age, but that's kind of a pastoral provision. The reason, though, I think this helps us to understand something about the Church's understanding of marriage and the role of faith within marriage, right? Marriage, of course, being a natural institution, is something that is just natural to us as human beings. So someone marries someone that they have chosen to marry, right? What does being Catholic have to do with it? Well, for Catholics, for Christians, marriage is not just a natural institution, it's a sacrament. And so we are entering into a sacrament with someone else who's baptized. Now, in the current period, we have a lot of Christians, especially in this country, who are not baptized Catholics. They are Christians, but they're not Catholics. And so you are entering into a sacrament with someone who does not believe what you believe about God, about salvation, about how to go to heaven, about what is necessary for us here on earth, all these other things of foundational importance, and this can bring in a huge strain into a marriage. So that's maybe the beginning of an answer here.
Yes. So with the religion answers the question of why behind everything. Why am I here? God loves me. God created me and has a plan for me, and religion reveals that why, and it will reveal that in a way that is true, partially true, or completely false. And we proclaim the Catholic Church has the fullness of the faith. So religion is the most fundamental human need. In a materialist society, someone in their youth may not recognize the significance of this. But I believe both of us can come up with examples of people that we know who it wasn't an issue when they first got married. But as one or both of them got into their faiths, which are distinct and have differences, it has caused enormous suffering. Now, sometimes there is the case that someone may convert who's not Catholic, and so that both spouses become Catholic, and there's a great unity in the faith because of it. But this is actually the need or the wisdom behind the dispensation to marry the non-Catholic, because what that says is that the non-Catholic spouse is disposed to at least raising the children in the faith, that the non-Catholic spouse will at least agree to that much. And why does the Church make this demand? We believe that it's true. We believe that the Catholic faith is true. And if we believe this, then it would be the worst thing in the world to deny my children what is necessary for salvation. It's like everything else when we have marriage preparation. It is setting yourself up for a divorce or other horrible heartaches and sufferings to say, we'll figure that out when we come to it. Because after you've already locked yourself into a commitment with God as your witness, you can't leave at that point. And if neither of you will budge, what happens?
Right, and so the question is your faith important to you? Is it the kind of thing that is the foundational element of your life? Actually, this is what's required to get a dispensation for a Catholic to marry a non-Catholic, is the acceptance of the intention of the Catholic party to raise the children in the faith, right? Now, in this case, so I could see the case of someone who's marrying someone who just doesn't really think religion is that important. I think that's also problematic. But that person could be convinced that, okay, my fiancé wants to raise the children as Catholics. I'm not really anything, so sure, she can do that, right? But this person is seemingly a pretty serious Calvinist who thinks that Catholicism is seriously wrong and leads not to salvation but to damnation. That's a pretty typical serious Calvinist position on things. That Calvinist is going to, in order to get a dispensation, is going to honestly have to say that he is willing to allow the children to be raised as Catholics, which seems unlikely to me in the first place. And if he wouldn't, then this dispensation shouldn't be allowed because the Catholic has an obligation to raise the children to know God and to serve him as God has revealed himself, which is taught in the Catholic faith, not in the Calvinist religion. So that brings in a huge difficulty. Now, let's say they get a dispensation and they are married, and this Calvinist perhaps even has said that he will allow. It's the woman who's the Calvinist in this scenario. She'll allow the children to be raised as Catholics. When it comes to the point of it, 5 years from now, say that they've got some children who are now reaching kind of the age of being able to be taught things. Is she really going to just sit there while her husband teaches her children, things that she thinks are leading them to damnation? And if you don't think that that's going to be a problem, and that's going to bring in a huge amount of difficulty in your marriage, to the point of irreconciliation. I mean, that's what I would expect in that situation. Then I think you're just fooling yourself. And that's what Father mentions, marriage preparation. It's not just about religion. It's about all manner of things that could bring in problems that we want to head off kind of before they come.
So there's another element, and I actually think this is actually might be more of the issue behind this question. It's something I'm going to give the analogy of cohabitation before marriage. All right, so that can lead to a host of problems that lead to that marriage not lasting or being unhappy. But the process in which a lot of young couples now kind of fall into, well, let's try living together first to see how it works. And in a lot of cases, they find that this person I'm not so enamored with, actually. However, they've lived with each other for a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, maybe more go by. But in that time, because they're living together, they begin to own stuff together. And then the end result is, it is easier to slide into marriage than to actually do the right thing and separate myself from this.
While it's still possible.
While it is still possible, it now becomes difficult. I see that this relationship is gone on for 4 years. And so this young man may need to actually face some serious questions about just maybe sinking or maybe even being insinuated by a spiritual enemy to enter a relationship on a bad foundation. Along the lines of something like this. You've already spent 4 years invested in this relationship. You might as well keep going.
And the danger, of course, in the end is the loss of faith on the Catholic part and the failure to transmit that faith to the children. This, to the modern world, is it's a non-problem because, well, if it's just not that important, right? But in the Catholic understanding, this is what would cause someone to lose his opportunity of eternal salvation. That's why the institutional church treats it as a serious thing. It's not that it can't work, but it is a serious obligation that needs to be at least talked about and a serious plan of progress made before marriage is undertaken. Otherwise, we would be witnessing something that we're expecting is going to fail, which would be a lie.
Click the logo right there to subscribe.
Thanks for watching. New episodes come out every Wednesday.